Start the show, my man. Damn.
Hi, guys. Welcome to the Filmmakers Hangout Podcast. I am your host, Brandon. This is my co-host.
I'm Landon. Good morning.
And today on the show, we have a very special guest with us. It is Mike. Mike, introduce yourself to the audience a little bit.
Absolutely. I'm Mike Burns. I've known Brandon. How long have we known each other? Geez.
A long time.
A long time.
Yes.
Since birth.
It's not quite there.
Not that quite long.
It's getting close to a decade, I think. And
yeah.
and I've done all things film in front of the camera, behind the camera. I have my own business, Video Omaha, spelled Video Omaha, so 1-0, all one word. And I'm really happy to be here.
Awesome. Now, you are a videographer with like weddings and events and things like that. You just mentioned Video Omaha. Mm-hmm. But we're the Filmmakers Hangout Podcast.
Yeah.
So you got your start in making movies. Where, tell the audience, did you start behind or in front of the camera first?
Oh, in front. In fact, it wasn't even in front of the camera. It was on stage. Right. The story, and I'll do the abridged version because it's kind of long, but the story, and I don't know if I've even told you this, but the story goes, I didn't start acting until I was in college. I didn't do a lick of it in high school. I didn't even know if that's what I wanted to do. But I remember, like, I was at kind of a loss. Like, I don't know if you felt this, but it's like, oh, what the heck am I going to do with my life?
Still do.
I think we all do.
A lot. As recent as 2 minutes ago.
Right. But yeah, so one day I saw a flyer and I'm like, oh, there's auditions. I'm going to do that. And so I went and I auditioned and I did like every single thing wrong that you could possibly do in an audition.
Okay.
There was like, I kid you not, a long table of, because you're auditioning for 2 plays. There's a long table.
If anyone has that tape, send it in. info@filmingne.com. I want it. I want it.
So I go in and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go in and do my thing and just be me. And at the time, I was selling cars, and what you do is, the rule of thumb is you shake everyone's hand. Even if there's little kids coming in, doesn't matter, you shake everyone's hand. So I decided that's what I'm gonna do. And there's a long table of 30 people, and I got about 4 people in, and I quickly realized this was a mistake. But I'm committed now.
I was going to say, man, did you shake all 30 hands?
So
you can't stop now.
I did.
Nah.
I went down the line. I go, hi, I'm Mike Burns. Hi, I'm Mike Burns. Hi, I'm Mike Burns. And like, I get to the end, and all the way at the end is the accompanist at the piano. And he's an old guy. And I go up to him, and to do the last and final one, I go, and before I could even get out, hi, I'm Mike Burns, he goes, I know who you are.
How sweaty were your hands by the end, dude?
Mike leaves the room, and at least that one guy at the table had something nice to say. Well, at least he can repeat himself.
Repetition. That's
Repetition.
A good thing.
I knew my line, and that was, hi, I'm Mike Burns.
Exactly.
So I did the audition. I had no idea what I was doing. I felt like a fool, especially after that, like, probably 3, 4, or 5 minutes of what felt like an hour of agony of doing the same thing over and over again. But somehow I got called back. And I'm just like, okay, well, that's weird. And then somehow I got cast as Jonathan Harker in Dracula on my first play, on my first time ever acting. And so years later, I asked the director, credit to him, I'll give him a plug, Scott Glasser, great theater professor and director. And I asked him, I go, so why did you cast me? Like, I had no experience. Why would you do that? And he thinks about it. He looks up and he goes, because the character is a young, naive person who is completely in over his head.
You didn't have to act.
I don't even know how to see this, dude. Is that even like... straight up called you out. He was like, you didn't know what you were doing.
That's right, and that was the character. He was John Harker, a young solicitor who was ambitious, completely in over his head, going to Dracula to sell him this big house in London, and that was the direction he was going.
If it works, it works, man.
And that's how I got my start. That's how I started acting, fell in love with storytelling, and that's how that's
so that
pretty much how it happened.
One could say that's why you make movies.
Oh, we're bringing up the why.
Again, inside jokes. Deal with it.
Should we explain the why?
It's part of the storytelling.
Okay. All right.
Why do we tell?
Figure out when you work
why do
with
we, tell stories?
True.
It's to tell why about something. And that was
Exactly.
we've worked before. We've worked on building stories, and Mike's big thing is why.
It is.
So,
Why do we do anything? Why do we tell stories? Why are we telling this story?
yep. Why is the character doing this?
Why, yes.
Why did you bring that up right now?
Yes.
Brandon, why are you doing this?
Why are you doing a podcast?
Right. I feel attacked.
Oh,
It's okay.
I didn't mean to.
Now, when did you officially go from in front of the camera to behind the camera?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Actually, it was in college still. I knew after I got into acting, and after that, I knew that I always loved movies. I always did. I had no idea it was even a viable career path. I had no idea that. I don't know. I just thought that you had to kind of be born into it, which I think is kind of true. It definitely helps to have family members that do it. But I had no idea. But once I found theater, I knew that it's like, I started looking it up. It's like, this is a great jumping off point to film, as long as you have a solid grasp of the craft and understand storytelling. And I think that's, at the end of the day, that's what it is. No matter what what brush you use, it's still storytelling. Whether it's you're writing a novel, whether it's you're using a camera and images, whether it's on a stage with actors. I mean, it's storytelling. It's what brush do you use to
and the most I've ever done, you have a lot on me because I've not done stage. Landon has with OPS and things like that. I haven't done stage. The last time I was on a stage in a play was grade school in Schuyler, Nebraska. So it's not the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah.
You learn a couple songs, you know your mark, and you get off the stage. That's about it. And it's a one-time thing, and
Right.
it's more of a hi, Mom.
No, literally.
It's completely different.
It's basically just like remember your song and don't bump into anyone else. That's
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Or at least know how to get back on track if the train falls.
Right, true. And truth be told, that's not that different from advanced acting.
Right.
You-
From what I do understand of actors that bridge the gap either way, most of them do both.
Mhm.
Not all of them, but most around here do at least.
Yes, for sure.
And I know out of them, they respect their fellow actors so much that they're gonna do that for you. Like we were talking about, you brought up Walter the other day on the set of F. You were having issues or troubles with something, and he just kind of took you aside and said, "Hey, just do this." Gave you a little bit of pointers.
Yeah.
I've seen that on stage to where somebody might stumble, but then the other actors will just be like, "Well, continuing on," and just get back into it to give that person that, no, this is where we're at.
Absolutely.
So, and that's what I love about that, and I think there's something there. Have you ever seen it to where you've seen somebody that's not acted for camera yet, but they bring something different from theater, something like that I'm not talking about the overacting for the back of the room,
Yes.
but something of that repetition,
Yes.
being able to learn something and just keep redoing it. But then also there's something to be said about stage and film. Film, once it's locked in and edited, that's what you get.
Right.
Stage, if it's not just a one night show, you can kind of change it up if you want to.
It kind of evolves.
But
I mean,
you don't have to, which
right.
I think that's kind of a fun little, why am I making this choice?
No.
Kind of thing.
Precisely.
So, yeah.
Precisely. I think in general, and this is very, very, very general because, I mean, if there's one thing about art, it constantly changes, it evolves. But in general, one thing, at least with my background, that I find that theater actors do have over people who just go into film and do film acting, Stella Adler, I think, said it the best, was the talent, I might butcher this, the talent is the choice. What choices are you making? How do you know your character, and how do you fall into the circumstances of it, that the choices you're making are they're strong because they fit within the circumstances and the story that you're trying to tell, but they don't distract. They're not overly it's not egotistical, like, oh, I'm going to do this because that's going to make me look good as an actor. It's like, no, the talent is the choice of, ooh, this is going to really enhance the story being told here.
What are some of your favorite things that a writer and or director can do for you as the actor to better get into your character and know exactly what you're doing day one?
That is quite the question. There's so many things you can do. Honestly, I think the best thing that you can do, and this is hard, because especially in today's day and age, in my opinion, the majority of films, especially if you're trying to make money at it, are content. They're being made quickly and efficiently, and basically made in a way that
Conveyor belt.
Correct. It's very formulaic. Spend, because time is money, and so you don't want to spend all that time on rehearsal and really understand. Like, we got to pump this out is the name of the game. So I think the best thing is just time. I really think it is. If you can give and talking, in theater they call it table work, and I feel like that's so neglected in film nowadays. It's like, let's all sit down and really talk about, dare I say, the why of this story.
You said the thing.
I said the thing, and what's happening.
The T-shirts will be on sale.
and what's going on in the scene, and I just feel like all the mainstream content shows that we see nowadays, it's and I don't know, I mean, it's not like I'm out in LA anymore, but that just seems to be what it is. It's like almost no rehearsal, show up, do the thing, and move on. And now there is still films out there that clearly there are films that are taking the time, but I feel like perhaps compared to 10, 15 years ago, where it's like the goal of if you had a good film, people are going to talk about it, and it's going to make all the more money, but that's not the case anymore. Right. It seems like it's the opposite. It's like you don't need a perfect film, you don't even need a good film, you just need good marketing.
And I think if you look at the history of filmmaking, I think it's kind of repeated itself in that. Mm-hmm. There was a moment in filmmaking, it was for discovery. Mm-hmm. And then there was a moment of, oh, we can make a lot of money just putting a whole bunch of these out. Right. Which is kind of where we're at again, is what Absolutely. You're saying. Yeah. But in between that, there was that moment that there was a little bit of everything. There was hey, let's just put stuff out for money. But then also there was the ones that meant something to the creators and things like that. Not saying that the other ones don't mean somebody to the creators. It means something.
Exactly.
But what is that? What are they putting above the
exactly.
why or the why?
The why.
So.
And at the end of the day, it always, if you don't have money, you can't tell the story. That's just that's how it is. And you are. I think very few people, if you're in the industry, you're obviously trying to make a career at it. Right. I feel like it's just more difficult because the most popular stuff right now are being pumped out, and there's less and I could be completely wrong. This is just what I see, but it's like there's less opportunity for up and coming artists to really get into that quality, those quality films.
I want to agree, but at the same time I want to disagree because of the simple fact that I think it's easier to. It's just harder to be distinguished within it or noticed within it.
That's pretty fair.
You know what I mean?
There's so
because
much noise
technology
out there. Yeah.
and things like that have allowed everyone to be able to make a movie.
Yeah.
A good, high quality movie.
You can, absolutely.
But because everyone can and everyone is, I think that's the biggest part is being able to be like in the crowd going, hey, look at me, look at mine.
Because everybody,
that's
everybody
the
can have
issue.
a good movie, but if your marketing isn't, if you can't break past the noise barrier.
Right. And I think that's the other issue is a lot of, especially independent filmmakers forget is, yes, you may have gotten into it to tell stories and build movies and things like that, but you also forgot it's also a business.
Boom.
And if you want to do more than just create and actually share that with a broader audience than just your local little group,
you got it.
You're gonna have to either become a business person yourself or find someone that can do that on your behalf. We had in Shelby Hegarden, she was at Flatwater actually, and they had a whole thing her and Michael did about promoting your projects and kind of knowing that since day one. So like you're doing the business side of it while filming. It's part of your pre-production, production, and post-production work.
Absolutely.
So
that's so true, and I think that that's become increasingly more important, and that's probably why, in my opinion, we've seen a dip in quality in a lot of our mainstream popular films, is because the budget is no longer just going to making a good film and a little bit of marketing on the side. It's
mostly the marketing.
Probably, I would say on the majority of mainstream movies, it's got to be.
Unpopular opinion. I will nerd out a little bit.
All right.
Getting into that, Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yep.
To me, the marketing was spectacularly everywhere.
Yep.
But the movie, as a fan, I loved it because it was the buildup of everything we've all ever wanted. But at the same time, it wasn't everything we ever wanted. It wasn't perfect.
I'll say it. Kind of sucked.
Dang. Just cancel him, not me. But that's kind of where you're saying,
yes.
Like the budget goes more to, hey, come watch this.
Yeah. Not,
hey, look what you're gonna watch.
Correct. And maybe it's always been this way, but the marketing isn't just about marketing it anymore. It's actually about creating a overall hype experience.
Yes. Yeah.
That you can go in knowing that it's like, oh, this is the biggest fad, this is the biggest trend, and I'm a part of that.
Correct. And I think that's where it's starting to get into something a little bit different because people are starting to notice it. TV shows, especially like children's cartoons growing up, were a big thing on this is how can we market this to children, the cartoon or the movie, but then also put out a toy line.
Mm-hmm.
So then the toy line is what was greenlighting the show sometimes.
Right.
Yeah. I remember the original Beetlejuice movie had toys.
Oh yeah.
I want Beetlejuice toys. But see, that's the thing is us kids have grown up and now we're collectors. So there will be, but not in like your aisle at the store necessarily. But, like using Deadpool and Wolverine for an example, okay, the big thing is the popcorn bucket. Okay, I'm going to make a whole bunch of those and sell those.
Yeah.
So it's more of the merchandise and the selling of the experience and being in the crowd of the, I got the thing.
Right.
Than the, I'm going to go watch the movie.
Correct. Yep,
So.
It is. And it's kind of been that way too. I think Marvel really, that's the game changed with the Avengers, in my opinion.
Right.
I think that was a game-changing movie. That really was the first of its kind that, took all of these. I mean, we've had maybe combination of two superheroes before, but like we've never had the team and all of these different superheroes together and creating a universe. And I think like it changed the game, and it was really great while it was going. But in my opinion, the formula is really run dry, but also changed the name of the game. That it's like it really isn't. I mean, you watch any Marvel movie on its own, and it's pretty freaking boring, in my opinion. I think seeing it in the theater with everyone there cheering, that's the experience they're selling.
And I think sometimes you could say that they painted themselves in a corner, and now they're trying to figure out, like, can I paint myself out of the room if I go up the wall?
Right.
So they're trying to figure out how to do it because they're like, oh, maybe everything didn't need connected.
Yeah.
Oops. But then it's not just that too, it is the combination of what I was saying earlier about the art and the business side. They don't always mix well. Artists can be artists.
Yeah.
We actually had this conversation privately not too long ago about how we can get behind certain artists. Like, okay, example, Kevin Spacey.
Yep.
As an actor, loved his work.
Mm-hmm.
As a person, what he was accused of doing and what he got in trouble for doing.
Scumbag.
I'm not, sitting here saying, oh, maybe give him benefit. No.
Right.
There's two different things there.
Right.
There's the things that he did, and then the things that he did. So you got to be able to separate those things, and I think that's where, like Marvel and things like that, they're starting to find out, like how I brought up on our last episode, the Halloween special, Jonathan Majors, just in namesake, but it kind of ruined possible pathway that they were going.
Right.
So then they had to pivot.
Right.
And now they're bringing in
who else?
RDJ again?
But our Lord and Savior, Iron
guy.
Man. I mean, Dr. Doom.
Which, if this is the Filmmakers Hangout Podcast, not the Comic Nerd Corner, but if you know, and you probably know which version of the story they're going to go. And there was a storyline that there has those connected tissues of Tony Stark and Victor Von Doom.
Right.
So we're probably going to get a version of that.
Right.
Sooner or later, somehow. I don't know. I just hope he doesn't trip and fall on his face. And, I love RDJ, but is it too soon? Because, how Jackman came back as Wolverine, he was able to up the ante because, yes, they didn't want to do anything with the Logan, what he did with Logan. It was the perfect period on the thing.
Right.
But he was able to come back and do something he never did before in all those other ones, and it was wear the suit.
Yeah.
And be that character, that version of the character. That was the one thing that was missing. So now if he never dons the claws ever again, as a fan, I'm okay with that.
Right.
The thing I don't want RDJ to do, movies, continuation or not, I don't want him to potentially muddy what came before.
Right.
And I think he knows better, and everybody else does too in that universe.
Probably.
So I think they'll do it the right way. It's just I think it's getting very complicated when they're starting to do movies and streaming and series, and it's just like, what do you watch? What don't you watch? If I watch this movie, am I going to understand everything? Am I missing out? So it kind of goes back to what you were saying. It's not just the show. Mm-hmm. It's not the story. It's not the why. It's the experience.
You got it.
That you're starting to miss out on then. And because you're missing out on the experience, you might end up missing out on some of the story. And I think that's part of the reason, like what you were saying, if you look at the story of the movie individually, sometimes they're not that great. And I think it's because you're missing some of the connective tissue that you don't understand, maybe an inside joke or why that character did that. Well, it's because it was in that show.
Right.
Kind of thing.
I do wonder if, pretend we live in a world somewhere in the multiverse where there was no Disney Plus. And I think I heard just Mickey Mouse have a panic attack.
Life is better already.
No.
Listen here, I buy your podcast and I'll burn it to the ground.
As long as I get a
Not really him.
as long as I get a nice payout from that buy, I'm good. I'll take some Disney cash.
Right. It's Disney money.
It'll be $40.
Right. But imagine a world where there is no Disney Plus, meaning that there's no Marvel side content, if you will. It is just the movie experience. They're clearly struggling with Marvel, which is why they've rearranged and said we're going to push out less. Does that change?
I think it does a little bit, because I think the only thing it changes is the experience concept to a point. Because to me, it was padding between all their bigger projects.
Yep.
To keep everybody biting at the content.
But listen, the more you eat candy, the more you get sick to your stomach.
Right.
And that's how I felt with Marvel stuff. It's a great time, but I don't want to eat candy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Right.
I can't.
And I have to kind of pivot, because I am that nerd. I'm not a big Marvel dude.
Right.
I'm more of a DC dude.
Here we go.
And
I knew this was coming.
Even them, I'm not sure if they're going in the right direction either, because they had a whole universe they were trying to connect. They were trying to follow the footsteps of Marvel.
Yeah.
And, it is what it is. Did it hit? Did not hit? Whatever. But then they also tried to pivot and do movies that are like in universe, but not in the shared universe, like Joker.
Right.
Which is new. It's different. It's awesome. But it's one-offs.
Mm-hmm.
Does it need a sequel? I haven't seen the new one yet.
I haven't either.
But it is what it is.
Saw the ending.
But then, like, The Batman, it's a different take, but not. It's basically just an updated version of Burton,
right,
without Burton.
Right.
You know what I
right.
mean? It's that dark, gritty version of Batman that we all loved. But then now they're going to be reintroducing a version of the DC that kind of, and obviously we don't know. This is just me basing it off of set photos and things like that. But it's definitely getting away from the gritty.
Right.
And I think it's going to go, I don't want to say campy, but it's definitely going to go more towards the comic book look a little bit and feel. But I have high hopes, because then it's less about the spectacle and more about the, hey, let's take my family to this hero movie.
Right.
Not just, hey, kids, do you want to go see Iron Man blow some stuff up again? It's not just that for that sake. It's still selling merchandise, still selling the experience, but they're pivoting the experience in a different way.
Right.
And I'm hoping it works, because again, it's just like what Marvel's doing. They're trying to figure out, oh crap, how do we pivot? And I'm hoping the pivot worked for all of them, because I make content, I make media, I make movies, but at the same time, I'm a fan as well.
Right.
I love going, I love ingesting all of this.
I think
if not, I wouldn't be able to sit here and nerd out about it.
Right, I was gonna say, I think you'd be in the wrong business if you weren't.
But also, I hope they do well in the point that we get more.
Yes.
As a fan, but at the same time, part of me hopes they, I don't want to say fall on their face and fail completely, but in a weird way, realize that they should have just stopped while they were ahead and took more time.
Oh, circled around.
Yes. It's called a callback.
It's
and with that, I think what we're going to do real quick, because we have a little bit more time left, we're gonna spin around for the fun stuff and go to the kids' table with Landon.
Woo!
For some special questions.
Let's
whip
do
out
it.
my notes app real quick.
Okay.
Homies.
All right.
So here's the fun ones.
These are the childish questions that we came here to answer.
Oh boy.
And these are some hard-hitting questions like
I'm ready.
top 3 animals that you could beat in a hypothetical fist fight. Both real, imaginary, and prehistoric.
Dude, I'm just gonna go with like rodents.
Really?
Yeah, top 3. Like
Yeah,
those are
dude.
for sure bets, dude. A rat comes at me. Do you want something cooler than that?
These are your answers, man.
These are my answers.
All I'm saying is I go dramatic with it because I'm pretty sure I
Also,
could
I
beat
want
a
the
giraffe.
why.
Oh, you want the why?
If you
All
want-
right.
If you want to explain
I was
why.
gonna say, look, I could get the Black Plague, but I'm pretty sure I could take a rat in a fist fight.
True.
Unless it's Splinter, then you're screwed.
Unless it's Splinter, then yeah, no, exactly. I could. Fun fact: I used to live on a swamp, growing up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I caught a couple of snakes, so I could take them. I know how to handle them pretty well.
Nice. So rats, snakes, and
Rats, snakes, and let's throw. If you want me to be dramatic, let's throw a black bear in there for good
Ooh.
measure.
All right.
If it's black, fight back, so they say.
I'm fighting all the bears. I don't care.
If it's brown, get on the ground.
And then if it says if it's white, run away. Isn't that right?
Oh no!
Like-
What?
Dude, I thought it was like if
Oh,
it's
polar bears.
Yeah,
Okay.
polar bears, dude. What you think I was saying? Cancel him.
Cancel.
Out of context, it does sound terrible.
Well, I saw your face as soon as I said that. It's a real. Hey, look, go to Colorado.
Let's do 2 more. What
All right.
invention needs its own movie?
Ooh. Man, invention. Dude, I want to see OxyClean the movie.
Honestly, I'd watch it. All right, and 1 more.
Yeah.
Is it technically a kids' table question? It's on the list, but it's gonna hit you.
Oh.
Hot take that you have about the independent filmmaking community.
How spicy you want it?
You ever watch Hot Ones?
We're not copywriting that song.
What?
You ever watch Hot Ones?
Hot ones? No.
Ghost pepper level spicy, I guess.
Oh, okay. Oh, duh. Yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Hot take I have about the independent. I have so many.
He has so many that he can't bring up.
I know.
because he
I
doesn't
was
want
gonna
canceled.
say.
All right.
He
No,
wants
no,
to
no, no, no.
work.
Let me answer this. Let me
Here,
answer
here.
this.
Let's make it a little bit nicer on him. If he needs to talk shit on us, let him.
Let him.
We're at time. I'm still gonna answer it.
We'll go over.
Hot take that won't get me canceled and not so I can still work with people.
True.
I think this is kind of safe, but it's also not. I think filmmakers here need to learn. Filmmakers here need to go to writing classes.
Fair.
I think we all, me included, because I'm really not a writer, but theater definitely helps because it's all about the writing. Really understanding story on text,
Right.
and how that translates to the execution of film.
Right.
And it can be said in different ways.
Yes.
Obviously, it's very loaded there.
Yes.
It could be either formatting,
Yes.
structure,
But
Character
again,
building.
storytelling wise.
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
The one thing I've noticed in the area is when people write and they don't break up the characters, all the characters sound like the same person.
Right.
That's a big note
Yeah.
that I tend to try to give people. It's like
Yes.
either pull yourself out or go look at somebody that represents that character for you.
Yeah.
Get their mannerisms down.
Yeah.
Put yourself in that head, or do what Landon does and create a playlist
Yeah.
for that specific character.
Right.
You can write it down as like little blocks of dialogue, but then go back and write only for that one character. So change their dialogue, the way they speak, the way they whatever, even some of their stage direction or whatever.
Right.
You could do it that way. That's just one of the ideas I go with.
Absolutely.
To kind of break it up.
And going off of that, I feel like in general, we could all benefit from storytelling theory.
Yes.
Reading some Joseph Campbell, like really understanding the fundamentals of it, because that will only help. Because we can all be like, oh, I want to make a movie, but if you really don't have that grasp on, okay, but so how does this story translate to film?
Right.
That's the
and
most
you need to.
important thing.
It goes all back to the same saying that I love to repeat in every stage of my life. You need to know the rules.
Yes.
To be able to bend or break them.
Yes, and knowing how to use a camera is different than knowing how to actually tell a story with it.
Correct. Correct.
Rapid fire. 2 more. Favorite dinosaur.
Let's go. Velociraptor.
Velociraptor. Basic but appreciated.
Yes.
Best karaoke song.
What's it called?
Tequila.
Yes. No.
So easy.
I do a mean show tunes. I can do some Hamilton pretty well.
Nice. I appreciate it. All right, I'll let you close up now.
All right.
We might have to do that as a fundraiser.
Let's go.
We can't do it on air
I've done it
because
before.
we'd be canceled.
Filmmakers
I know.
Hangout Karaoke night.
We'd be shut down and demonetized.
We're not monetized
paid yet.
anyway.
But yeah, that was amazing. Thank you, Mike, for being
you.
here. Thanks for joining us. That has been the Filmmakers Hangout Podcast. We'll see you again next time.
Adioses.
Sweet. Thank you for having me.
You want to plug any of your stuff? Yeah.
Yeah. So Video Omaha, we do weddings, commercials, anything video that you need. Go to www.videoomaha.com, and thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thank
Awesome.
you, Mike.
Thank you.
All right. See you guys.
See ya.
Pieces.